In this lesson, we're going to be exploring causation versus association. Another word for association would also be a correlation, and some of this may sound a little bit familiar to you. The first thing you need to do is make sure that your Cornell notes are set up. Remember, you want to have 2 inches from your the wires on your spiral out to the line. Do not use the margin that's already drawn for you. Make sure you go out 2 inches. Make sure you write down your essential question. How do we determine the different types of association, and how do they help us determine causation? Please pause the video to make sure that you have your notes set up correctly. Okay, so let's look at the information that I have given to you about scatter plots. It says, and you may want to use a highlighter or you may want to underline here, it says that a scatter plot is a graph of a set of data points. So it's scattered. It's just a bunch of points. We're not drawing a line to connect the points, is one thing that we're looking at. We have what we call a positive correlation. We can also call this a positive association. Correlate and associate, those words mean the same thing. And what I want you to notice here, it says that Y tends to increase as X increases. So here's an example of a positive correlation graph. You'll notice this looks like a positive slope. As one thing increases, so does the other. So one thing is going up and the other is going up. An example might be the older you get, the taller that you are. We know that that's going to peak at some point, but as you get older, as your age grows, so does your height. Then we have a negative correlation or a negative association. They're relationships. Correlations, associations are relationships. If I say something that isn't written down, you may want to jot a note to the side and add that to your notes. In this negative correlation, it says the Y value tends to decrease as the X value increases. So what we're looking at here is as our independent variable goes up, our dependent variable actually goes down. And so this is like a negative slope graph. Notice all the points are going in a downward trend. And then sometimes there's no obvious pattern. Sometimes there's no correlation. There's no relationship. They have nothing to do with one another. An example might be your shoe size and the number of people in your family. There's no relationship between that. There's no association. There's no correlation. And so we would simply say that there's no correlation. Notice the points are scattered all over the place, and we can't determine any kind of trend. Okay, so here's 2 examples. Okay, it says to describe the correlation shown by each scatter plot. I hope that this is very obvious to you. I want you to take note of what your independent and your dependent variables are. And this one we're talking about cell phone subscribers and service regions. So as the number of subscribers goes up, as it increases, so does the service region. So this is an example of a positive association or a positive correlation. Okay, and then on the next one, I hope again it's the same. It's subscribers versus corded phone sales. Well, we know that if more people start buying cell phones, chances are they're not going to have that landline or that corded phone. So this is actually a negative correlation. As one thing goes up, the other goes down. Okay, hopefully very simple for you to recognize. The next thing that we need to talk about with this lesson is causation. Causation can be a little bit tricky, so let's talk about what the definition is. I feel like this is really thinking about English and how this relates to English. The definition of causation, let me zoom out just a little bit so we can see. The definition of causation is the change in one quantity, zoom out some more, the change in one quantity causes the change in another quantity. Okay, that's the definition. So just because something is related, just because there's an association, doesn't necessarily mean that it causes that. So we're trying to see if the independent variable actually causes the dependent variable. I'm going to write down one example, and then we're going to look at some other examples, and it'll be up to you if you write them down. An example would be that the amount of money you spend and the amount of money left in your wallet. And we're assuming that you only have cash. That's not me, but we're assuming you only have cash. Well, first of all, you'll notice that there is an association. There is a relationship. We could say that the more money you spend, so as you spend more money, you're going to have less money in your wallet. So as one thing's going up, the other's going down. And so this would be an example of a negative correlation or a negative association. Is it a causation? Does the amount of money you spend cause you to have less money in your wallet? It does, doesn't it? So this is an example of causation. Okay, so a question I want you to think about as I show you these next examples is I want you to think about, can you have causation without association? Is it possible? So I want you to think about that and write your answer down, and that will be your entrance ticket tomorrow. And so let's look at these other examples that I have for you. You can write them down, or you can just look at them and kind of think about them with me. The distance you drive in a toll lane and the amount of money you are charged. So our first question is this a correlation? Is there an association? So ask yourself, well, if I drive a long way, if this goes up, what's going to happen to the amount I'm charged? Well, the more you drive on a tollway, the more you're going to end up getting charged, right? So yes, there is an association, and as one increases, the other increases, so that would be a positive correlation. Now let's think about it. Does it cause it? Does the distance you drive on a toll lane cause you to be charged more? We could probably debate it a little bit, but I would say that yes, it does. It does cause it, because if you drive, you're going to go through more toll booths, and so therefore you're going to get charged more. Okay? Okay, another example. The amount of money you spend and the amount of money left in your wallet. We already did this one, right? So we know that that is a positive, actually, I'm sorry, that is a negative correlation, and it does cause it. So that's an example. Okay? Okay, the next one I want us to look at. Number 10 here. It says, which of the following statements shows a relationship that is correlated but not causal? Correlated but not causal. Okay, I want you to pause the video. I want you to read through those, and I want you to determine on your own which one you think has an association but not a causation. So that means 3 of them are causal, 3 of them cause one another, but there's one in there that does not cause it. So pause the video and make that determination. Okay, then I want you to look at example 11 here. Which of the following statements shows a causal relationship and not just a correlated one? So again, we're looking for one that has a causation and a correlation. So it has both. So look at your answer choices. Pause your video and determine that and write that down in your notes, and we will discuss in class tomorrow.